All right. What's up, guys? We are back. This is the 22nd episode. I've got my good buddy Nathaniel here. Nathaniel is a wholesaler. He's starting in buy and hold. And he's a member of the Growth Co., which y'all remember from last week we had Carlin on. So, Nathaniel, why don't you kind of kick us off a little bit? Tell us, what got you started in REI and how you got here.
Man, I kind of stumbled into it, I guess, into real estate investing. We had bought a house when we moved to Oklahoma that we had intended to live in, and my wife, girlfriend at the time, Brittany, got a job a week before we were supposed to close on it, like an hour and a half away. And we're like, oh, that's not going to work. So we ended up just turning it into a rental. It needed a bunch of work. I did all the work for the most part myself on it. That's what my intention was if we were going to live in it anyway. Like from ceiling to floors, did everything like that. And it was, God, it was like 7 acres, I think, with a little creek and a pond and everything. It was kind of like a dream starter home, so to speak.
Mhm.
But yeah, the hour and a half drive back and forth was just just kind of killed it. So we ended up fixing it up and turning it into a rental. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're getting, I forget what the rent was, like 1,500 bucks a month, right? Wow, we're getting $1,000 a month for this thing. Hey, that's kind of cool. Let's see if we can do more of that. And so I started going direct to seller with the intention to buy houses. And this was in Oklahoma City at the time. I think we sent out mailers. So, I was getting some houses that I didn't want to buy. They were either in areas that I didn't want, or the specific house I didn't think was going to be good for a rental. And so I started wholesaling. And 8 years later, I was still freaking wholesaling. Because once you get into the wholesaling, I don't know, machine, it just becomes you become a wholesaler. And so just at the beginning of this year, well, I guess it was in the middle of last year, so 2023, kind of summer, we had gone through Creighton Bertrand's Creating Change kind of development program. I don't know exactly how he would describe it, but it was like personal development, kind of taking stock in the values and the things you want each day. And we started to make some changes, stopped wholesaling or slowed down wholesaling and started focusing more on doing flips. We had been doing, one, maybe two a year, but like, okay, this is going to be our intention. But it kind of wore on me. Going, you did all this work to go buy a house, do all this work to fix the house up, and then you're just like, okay, let's sell it. Wait a second, this isn't why we got started in real estate, right? And
Mhm.
so we put everything on hold at the beginning of this year, and I had met Carlin previously and got introduced to a bunch of other people in the Growth Co that were either part of the actual like program or had gone through the program. Like, I think this is the next step for us, right? We wanted to reinvest in our education and growing ourselves and like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And it's been life changing, good and bad, right?
Well, I think that's what the growth code does is they invest in the people that put themselves out there.
Mhm.
And then the next thing you know, you're accidentally surrounded by everybody that's in the growth co.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had to.
Because I became friends with Shane, and then I became friends with Amber. And then next thing I know, I'm at Squad Up Summit and I shared a room with Grady, Seth, and Zach.
Okay. Yeah, I love them.
And
Yeah.
Grady got him and I a day with Pace for next year,
Okay. When's yours?
March
Okay.
20th.
Yeah, somebody got me I don't know who the heck put my name out there, but February 6th I'll be out there.
Yeah, so it was impressive. I told Carlin, I was like, I need a shirt. I need like an honorary Growth Code member shirt.
Yeah. I don't even have one. We got a they did an event when was it? May, June of this year, Unleash and Invest. They gave us shirts for that.
Mhm.
It's like a really nice, I know sidebar, but really soft shirt. Like I'm impressed by it. Yeah.
When you wear one,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
when you wear a shirt.
I'm I am known now as the person that ends up in places with no shirt on. I know we were talking before we started recording this, like, other people's things. I want to be respectful and put the shirt on. And when I do my own podcasts, I put my shirt on. But yeah, I show up to things. And I wear a long sleeve shirt. I'm weird, even in the summer. I don't know. It was maybe the Marine Corps said, you should always have long sleeves on just in case you end up stuck somewhere and you need sun protection.
Yeah, it's like a pocket knife.
Yeah, exactly.
I think General Mattis said that. He's like, you always need a pocket knife. You never know if you need to cut cheesecake or stab somebody.
Yeah, General
But either
Mattis.
way, you have it.
Yeah.
So, because you said something in your intro that a lot of people talk about, like a lot of people get into wholesaling thinking that wholesaling is the entrance into, I guess, buy and hold or flipping or whatever. And I can definitely see it being an intro to flipping, but um, like you said, once you build that machine, you then become the sole and only operator of the machine. So,
Yeah.
you know, what made you decide to do that? Because it sounds like you built the machine for 8 years just to kind of start to wind it down.
It was really just taking the things that we learned from Creighton. What do we really want our days to look like? What do we want our lives to look like? And assessing things. And when Brittany had left her job to join the company, um, she ended up just kind of being the secretary, and that's not why she left her job. She left her job to be a business owner. And when you're
Hmm.
running a wholesaling company, you need people on the phones, right? And I was talking to sellers and I was talking to buyers, and Brittany doesn't want to be on the phones. That's not her strength. That's not her superpower, right? She's good at all the behind the scenes stuff. And there just wasn't a lot of behind the scenes stuff needing to go on other than, hey, I need this contract signed, right? Or like, hey, send this to title. Like I didn't leave my job where I was running a you know, a program building military vehicles. I was like the head person in charge here to come be my husband's paper pusher, you know, insert expletive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was right. It was I had heard it since I joined SubTo, start with the end in mind. And finally we were like, okay, let's start with the end in mind at this point. Let's start building up a buying machine instead of a wholesaling machine. And I wouldn't say that I was burnt out with wholesaling. It was a means to an end, so to speak, but there was no end in sight for us. I wasn't doing 5 deals a month, right? We were doing a
Mhm.
deal a month. We were making money and living in a decent life for all intents and purposes, but it wasn't like we weren't making enough from wholesaling to be able to go, okay, let's just be buying properties now from this process. And I, at the time, I didn't want a team. I didn't want to grow myself out and have 10 people underneath me in acquisitions and dispositions. That wasn't where my mentality was at, but it's different now. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because Tyler and TJ are actually here, and they are doing the same thing. Are building a wholesaling team, doing like a deal or two a month, and so they are thinking about transitioning more into buy and hold and building passive income. So I guess what would you go back and tell yourself when you were so focused on that wholesaling team before you decided to make that transition?
It's tough. Yeah, that's tough to say because I think that while we want to be further along than we are and we want to be able to go tell ourselves things in the past, like we have to take the path. You have to take a path to get to where you're going, right? And so if I had to, I would somehow figure out, hey, dude, you got into this to buy and hold properties. You need to figure out how to buy and hold properties. But at the same time, all my experience that I did wholesaling and flipping and we have rentals, we hold a couple notes to properties. Like that's what's led me here. That's what's led me to being able to do what we're doing now and talk confidently with other wholesalers and help other wholesalers out and talk confidently with private money and lenders and partners, right? If I don't have all that experience and I haven't closed as many deals as I have, even though most of them were wholesale deals, I wouldn't be able to talk about that stuff, So I say it on my own podcast a lot. Like, I wish we were further along, but I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now, right? I'm right where God has placed me in this time and space. I'm blessed to be doing what I'm doing, and I'm gonna keep doing it. And we're gonna keep growing, and a year from now, we're gonna look back and be like, "Oh man, I wish you were doing this." Well,
Well, I always try to look at it. I think Hormozy says this that the only perspectives of you that actually matter is the 8-year-old version of you and the 80-year-old version of you, right?
mm,
Like if you could go back and talk to the 8-year-old version of you, like would he be proud of you at your age and what you're doing?
yeah,
And if you could talk to the 80-year-old version of you who would obviously wish you could go back to the age you're at now and not have all the body aches and be back in that nostalgic moment.
yeah,
So I try
yeah,
to look at it like that, and so that's why I always ask that question usually on the podcast is it's like, "Look, if you could go back and tell a younger version of yourself anything, kind of what would you tell them? What would you
yeah.
tell them?" Like,
If I could go back before I joined Sub2 and before I went through these other coaching programs that we've done, it would be spend money on your education and growing yourself, right? I got out of the Marine Corps and I went to college on the government's dime and I did well. And then I was just like, all right, now what? No, I should have kept investing in the education, right? Keep growing yourself. And that's what's really changed us is not even Sub2 so much. Like Sub2 was eye-opening for me as far as wholesaling goes and as far as sales goes, but really the time that I had with Creighton and or I should say we had because Brittany was involved in that as well. It really opened our eyes to, oh man, we can pay for somebody's expertise and time and knowledge and further where we're at, right? If I can pay for somebody's knowledge and education that it would take me 5 years to learn by myself, but I can learn that in 3 months. Oh man, I should be doing that all the time, right? And that's when we got to the end of 2023 and we were looking for what the next thing that the next coaching program, the next educational program we're going to do is that's how we ended up in the growth go. But yeah, I would go back to 25-year-old me out of the Marine Corps and go, dude, start spending money on your health. Like that's where it's at. That's how you get to where you want to go.
yep.
25-year-old me also didn't know what the heck he wanted to do at the time. Yeah, so
Well, I mean, that's fair. I don't think most people do, and I told a couple people that at Squad Up Summit because they were like, "Dude, I'm 18," and I was like, "Bro, this shit didn't even exist when I was 18."
yeah,
Like this is not the norm. Like this is all new.
yeah,
But to them, it is the norm, and so I feel like they're at a massive advantage, and I'm here to help those people too. Like
yeah,
we don't want the younger generations to have to go through the things that we went through to get to where we are.
right. Yeah, that's what I mean, those are the things, and that's the reason like all my experience leading up to this, I really value and I really wouldn't want to change because now I know all these things that I can teach other people as well as my own kids. Like, hey, these are the things that suck when you're going through them, but these sometimes you got to just be in the suck.
Yeah, sometimes they're the best character building moments.
Yeah,
And I think that's hard for people that want to be entrepreneurs. But like I said, we tend to get a mix of people that come in here. Some of them are younger, some of them are older. Like Grace is in here and Grace, you're 23 or 24 right now. You know, like I wish I even had access to some of the information that's out there right now.
yeah.
She's 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a runway ahead of you, Grace, so take advantage of it. And you're in a great spot too. I mean, you're surrounded by a lot of people with a lot of knowledge, and it sounds like you're absorbing it, right? Adam's already chatting with you, so yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And we've also got Doc Johnson in here, and he's in his 70s. Like it's never too late to start. Tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life.
Yep.
And most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I saw a little reel I was posting my Sunday Sprint Day reel earlier, and I was like talking about time and how society has built this thing around time, right? You're supposed to graduate your schooling by like 22, you have a job, your career by 25, you have a family by 30, you're supposed to be you made it by 40 and 60 you retire. It's like that's not the path for everybody. That's not the path for most people. And just because I'm where I'm at right now at 40 and you're in a different spot at 40 doesn't mean that you're late or early, right? It's just where you are right now. So what are the things that you're going to be doing today that by 41 you can look back and be like, oh man, I'm so much further than I was at 40.
Well, I think it's that, and I think also if you choose to be an entrepreneur, you choose to go into business, or you choose to go into real estate investing, like it is definitely not a linear path. Like you said,
Yeah.
there's certain fires, there's certain crucibles that we had to be like kind of forged in, and I didn't learn a lot of the lessons the first time. That's for sure. I had to do it like 5 or 6 times, just to
Yeah.
be sure.
Yeah, yeah, just to make
Make
sure that
those
the
same
stove is
mistakes
hot.
over
Yeah.
and over again.
That's funny.
Kind of like dating. You just, you make the same mistake a couple of times and you're like, wait a minute. This is
Yeah.
becoming a pattern.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, so what are you guys looking at investing in right now? Because you and I had talked, we were gonna raise for a property you had, which is it looked like it was gonna be a pad split. So is that your primary exit strategy right now?
That's actually not a preferred exit strategy for us. Our primary is co-living. That is what most things are penciling out as, but we would prefer not to be in the pad split arena. Um, Pad split's good for the niche that it, kind of focuses on, but we like the young professionals, student housing type of co-living, right? And so we do just deal by deal basis. We're buying creative deals nationwide. And so
Oh,
when a
okay.
property comes in, oh, I heard somebody, yeah. When a property comes in and it actually starts to pencil out and it looks like it's worth diving into, we just do a deep market analysis of the area, of the city, of the specific street and neighborhood that the thing's in, and see what the heck the highest and best use is. We're looking for true like vacation short-term rentals. So, think mountains, lakes, um, destinations near what the heck is the Orlando Disney World? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I know my stuff really well. Disney World. Yeah, think those types of locations, short-term rentals that are just in a city and like, oh yeah, people travel here. That doesn't really get us going. It doesn't entice us. I want some places that we're interested in going and vacationing and people are going to go and have an experience there. And then we're doing, midterm rentals. So think insurance adjusters, things like that, where people are staying for 28 days, 30 days and longer. But then, like I said, most of the stuff we're looking at is co-living. So rent by the room, take a 4-bedroom house, add a couple bedrooms and make it 6 or 7 and really maximize the income potential of a property.
Have you looked at Section 8 at all?
We actually have the couple rentals that we have here locally are Section 8. We love them. But with the creative deal that we're seeing right now, most things don't pencil out as long-term rentals. When we're bringing in a private money lender or partner, the numbers have to work to be able to make sure that this person is secured and taken care of. And as long-term rentals, they just most of the time don't, right? I'm sure that they're still out there, those nice 3%, SubTo interest rates, but I think that they're getting gobbled up by the bigger fish right now, and us just getting started, right? We need to prove that we're buying and we're putting deals together, and so we can start getting preferential treatment by the wholesalers that we're working with.
Well, that's why I asked Section 8 because it's usually above,
Yeah,
what some people are getting LTR. I mean, it just depends on what the fair market rate is, of course, too, in your area.
right. Yeah, we're needing a lot more typically than like what you can get for a long-term rental rate. And you're correct, like Section 8s are usually, depending on the area, right? Usually you can get a little bit more. If it's a nicer neighborhood, you can draw more as a non-Section 8, right? But for example, we have a Section 8 here and it's bringing in 12, I think they just raised it to 1250. And if you were
Mhm.
to put it on the open market, it's like 1150 normally. But because the government's willing to step in and help out, like you take a nice house and put a good tenant in there, and they just want to live. They just want to have a nice home that they can come and call their home, right? And so we love the Section 8, especially when we were fortunate we had Section 8s during COVID when other people weren't paying. The government was like, "Here's your money every month, as long as the tenant's doing their job, like right, and
Yeah.
keeping the house nice." Jessica knows a lot about that.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
The property manager over here.
Yeah.
She called me the other day. She's like, "They didn't turn this apartment right." I was like, "Not me. I didn't do
Yeah, I know.
it.
No.
Wasn't my fault."
Nope.
Yeah, because one of the guys at our meetup, he was saying that. So he bought a house that already had a long-term tenant in it,
Mm.
and he converted it to Section 8. I think she already had the voucher for it and all. So she got to stay in the house. He went to the government, said she's been paying like $900 a month for the last however many years, but the fair market value had gone up to like say 1,600 or whatever. And they're like,
Oh
"Oh yeah,
wow.
sorry. She's
Wow.
gonna like she doesn't have to pay any more money. The government just picked up the difference."
Wow. Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I always ask because like sometimes you do find those little diamonds in the rough. Like there's a deal over here right now that I did boots on the ground for on Friday that I think somebody could pick up if they're willing to put in the rehab budget. They could probably get about 1,800, 1,850 a month on Section 8.
Okay.
That's what the FMR said on HUD user when I looked at it the other night.
Okay. Yeah, that's the tough. It's a tough juggle, right? Because we see the, cash to seller, cash to agent, cash to wholesaler, closing costs, and rehab. But then when you add all those things up, the it makes for a pretty large entry fee. And when you're bringing in a private money lender or partner who's wanting
Mhm.
10, 12, 15% return on their money, you go, well, the numbers just don't make sense because it's right. You say 1,800 and I'm seeing, okay, 1,800 insurance, taxes, capital expenditures, property manager, like all of a sudden it's 900 bucks. Okay, well, is that worth the investor's time, the private money lender partner's time to get, a few $100 on their 50 grand? No, typically it's not, right? The numbers just don't pencil out. So that's where those other creative strategies, the co-livings, the midterm rentals, the short-term rentals really make a difference in the cash on cash return for these investors. And you're very well aware of that.
Well, yeah, because that's the primary things that we get raises for right now is co-living, STR, and MTR.
Yeah.
But mostly it's STR and co-living. And there's a couple of things that make that difficult, which I'm sure you've probably seen, which is that like, you know, usually STRs people want experienced operators, right? It is not that different from like running a hotel or a bed and breakfast. And if you're just some Joe off the street and you've never done these things, it's kind of a big deal. Like it requires a good amount of juggling to
Right.
really run an efficient STR.
Yeah.
And I would argue kind of the same thing with the co-livings, but the difference with the co-livings, I think, is that's not the primary concern for these private money lenders and private money partners. Their primary concern is usually how are you going to pay me back? Like, are you going to be able to refi this? Because there's still co-living still falls in this weird space, right? It's not a multifamily, but it is a multifamily.
Yeah.
Like, so not every DSCR lender out there even knows like what to do with this.
Right.
Most traditional lenders definitely don't know what to do with it, but
No.
you'd be lucky if you can find like a DSCR lender that understands it.
Yeah, that's a big part of what I've been doing over the past handful of weeks is meeting DSCR lenders that are not only or like not only know what it is, but are willing to work with you on that. And typically there's a little bit more, I don't want to call it red tape, but like more seasoning periods and things that they need to see to be comfortable with those co-living spaces. And it's tough as well because now we've taken a fourth say call it a 4.2 or 4.3 and we've made it a 6 or 7. And when you go to try to get an appraisal for that, the appraisal walks in and goes, wait, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, how do I appraise this? How do I evaluate this? And so it's either, you take walls down, which you can't because there's people living in the house when the appraisal is taking place, or you go, well, here's the cash flow, here's what that is. And so it does cause a little bit of a juggling act, so to speak.
And then some people are turning them into 10 and 12 bedrooms too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It can get a bit excessive at times.
yeah.
One of the first podcasts we did back in early April with Cassandra, actually,
Okay.
she brought that up because she has a co-living in Alaska. So it's hard enough to get lending in Alaska, which is not part of the continental 48.
Yeah.
And then you pair that with a co-living. I think it took her about 18 months to find a lender that was willing to refi out her PMLs.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big reason why we're really heavy into the partnership side of things, right? So we're finding people that are really just bought into this is what we're doing. We're buying a house. You're not going to get refinanced out, right? You're staying this in this thing for the long term, right? We are owning this house together. And so it makes it a I wouldn't say easier, but it's a different conversation, but it does make it a little bit easier from that aspect. It's like, hey, there's not a refinancing and exiting event for this person, right? So it makes it a little bit different of a conversation.
Well, you still have to have that as a backup, though, somewhere, usually in your operating agreement.
Yeah, right.
So, what are you telling these potential partners, or like, what are you offering them? What are they? If you were to pitch one right now, what would you? What kind of terms are you seeing?
Depends on the deal, right? We did one recently where we just guaranteed 12% return and 50/50 everything else. We're doing one right
Mhm.
now where it's a variable return on the like cash on cash return. And so we're just looking at it as 50/50 everything. But it's really fun actually because we're able to go in and negotiate like here's the numbers at 50/50. What works for you as a lender? Oh, I don't want 50/50. I want 60/40 because I want this higher little bit higher cash on cash, right?
Mhm.
Or they're willing, some people are they just want the cash on cash. They don't care so much about the equity. So like, okay, well, let's weigh one heavier than the other. All right. Or some people it's vice versa. I want the depreciation. I really need depreciation. Okay, well we're looking for cash flow. So that makes it easier for us. So I when
Mhm.
I joined Sub2, I wanted to learn creative financing and being a better closer. And then you get into all these creative deals, and then you start learning about creative hold strategies. And then since we've started buying properties using other people's money, it's like, oh wait, you can be creative in this aspect too. It's just amazing how it's fun. Real estate's really fun, and you could be creative and make it win-win for everybody, right? It's ultimately about what's the best situation for everybody involved. The PM, the private money lender partner, us, the operators, the sellers, the wholesalers. Like, how do we make this thing just wins for everybody?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing that's always underestimated is, and I tell people that like there is no real secret to raising the capital. It's just a parlay. Like you were just trying to get them into the parlay,
Hmm.
right? If I'm trying to convince you to be my private money partner, it's just it's like you said. It's like, hey, Nathaniel, I have this deal. I heard you have funds to deploy. I'm looking for a private money partner. Would you be interested?
Yep.
And if you say you're interested, then I'm going to send you the deal, and you're going to say, well, this might work for me. This might not work for me. Maybe it would work for me if it looked like this.
Right.
And like I said, it's usually just playing around with the numbers. Like that was how we got a co-living funded, or how I got a co-living funded back in March. Was they were like the borrower wanted to offer 12%. 12% didn't come back to the monthly return that the lender wanted. So they ended up doing 15% plus 10% equity.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, is it a true 15% at 10% equity? No. But does it matter when she gets it was like 1086 a month because
Right.
that's what she ultimately wanted?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's what people like are missing all the time is they're just not asking the questions or receiving the feedback. It's like when they ask me, "Well, what's too much for a private money lender to ask for?" There isn't too much.
Right. It's
Their
your money.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they wanna see a full credit report, you don't necessarily have to go with that lender, but they're entitled to ask for it. It's their money.
Yep. Yeah. I think, not having a whole bunch of experience in this, right, so far, that's been our primary focus. It's like, just remember that this person did the work to save up all this money. It's your responsibility to treat it with as much respect as possible and like treat it like it's your own freaking money. And like the very last thing I want to do is put it at risk, right? And then and then I don't want to not offend them is not the right word because like no, I can offend people if that's the case, but like I want
I
to
was
be
gonna say I do it
respectful of
every
them.
day.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what the word I want to put in there is, but just like understand like for a lot of people this is their life savings, right? $70,000, $100,000. Like it took a long time for me to put that together. And for me to
Yeah,
just go, oh, you're asking for a credit report or whatever the other person's asking. No, forget you. Like he didn't ask me for that. No, 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 no. This is their life savings. This is their life's work, right? That means everything to them. If they ask you for a credit report, okay, if you don't want to do it, so be it, but be respectful of that. But that's such an easy thing. Like just do a credit report. I got to
yeah,
unfreeze my credit because I got freaking fraudulently thinged last year and I just froze all my credit because I'm not gonna mess with that again. But that's a whole different story.
yeah. Good Lord.
Yeah.
So what are you securing your PMPs on? Y'all just offering like LLC operating agreement as opposed to a solely doing a JV?
Yeah, we whatever LLC or whatever entity they want becomes an owner in the LLC just as we are. And our holding company does. And we put an operating agreement that's I mean essentially it's a JV agreement, but it just goes into the op like what if this happens? What if that happens? Who's responsible for these things? Who's responsible for the other things? And just as detailed as you can get. And uh, it's all you can always add stuff to it as long as both parties want to add stuff to it. But we try to just get as detailed as possible. That way, if anything happens down the line, you go just look at the operating agreement. It says it right in there, right? It makes it easy, makes it so nobody has to argue about anything. I told you they were going to start eating dinner here.
That's okay. We can only see Brittany.
Yeah, I'm going to scooch it over here. She doesn't want to be on camera. That's the fun part about the background is I can just swivel myself around, and it is my background.
That's sorry. Most people like have the fake backgrounds up, and obviously I
Yeah.
don't right now, but some of them look super real. Like I was on a call with Emily Bow, and she like walked through it, and I was like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah,
that's
what the
not real."
heck's going on?
Yeah, like what kind of Hogwarts shit is this?
Yeah. I was on one time with it was Tom Fuji and he had a picture of his bookshelf behind him. And I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Like, what book is that?" And he was like, "Oh, these aren't real, right? This is my basement." And I was like, "What the heck?" And so it just gave me the idea like I like the background that I have, right? This is my background. Um, so I just took a picture of it with my camera, right as it is, and then put it as my virtual background. So it's
That's
just trip
pretty
people out.
funny.
Yeah. But yeah, sidetracked.
No, dude, it's cool. But yeah, so that's what you guys are doing is y'all are securing. Does the promissory note come into play when you're dealing with partners?
Nope, they're owners of the house, so
Yep.
we don't even put them as a lien holder on the property, right? They own the house. Like if I bought a property with cash, I don't put a lien on it, right? I own the property. Um, so
I mean, I
you
hope
could,
not.
yeah, right, yeah, yeah. You put a
I
lien
have
as
seen people do that or try to do that in some kind of roundabout way to get themselves like I guess extra security on a wrap or even like some kind of acquisitions fee. But it's like, guys, don't. Why would you put a lien on your own property? Like that
yeah,
doesn't make
doesn't make
sense.
sense. Yeah, I I I guess we would be open to it, like if somebody really requested it, but. It it's all documented in the operating agreement, right? And so one thing that we've done is that if there's a sale or a refi event, the private money partner gets their principal back. Okay. That's easy enough. It says it right there in the operating agreement. We both signed it and dated it. Anything changes, like, no, look, here's a signed agreement right here. We both signed it. So
Yeah, so y'all doing for the most part 50-50 splits unless they're asking for something else tailored
right.
to the partner.
Yep. Yeah, just that's how we start at. Like, let's just be 50-50. We found the deal. We're getting it up to operation, operating and everything, and you're bringing the money in. So there's two parts. You got to have a deal and you got to have money. Um, right? of course, the person with $100,000 might value that money more importantly than the opportunity of buying the deal. So then we have that conversation. Because ultimately, I just want to go buy more properties. So
Yeah.
if I got to give up a little bit more, then so be it. But yeah,
Well, then if your cash flow numbers are good enough, does it really matter at the end of the day?
right. One we bought one recently a couple weeks ago, and in order for us to get the deal done, we had to take we're almost cash flowing nothing on property, like a couple hundred, but it's like I think it brings in 3,600 or something like that, but just the numbers didn't make sense for us to take more and for us to get the lender, a return that makes any sort of sense. Like it means that we're not going to take a bunch of money right now. We're not going to get a whole lot of cash flow, but we're 50% owners in a deal that is going to appreciate and all the benefits of real estate outside of the cash flow. Like I got into a deal for almost zero money out of pocket. Let's do it, right? I'm able to I'm able to get somebody a good return on their money. I got a property manager who's doing an excellent job and he's getting paid, right? And then I have upside in this thing. So it just made sense for us, right? We want to get cash flow. That's our primary focus right now is getting to $50,000 of cash flow a month. That's our big pie in the sky goal right now. That's our first metric that we're looking to hit. But if
Where are
some
y'all at now?
oh man, that's 3,600, something like that. Something in that ball. That's more of a Brittany question.
Tyler,
I'm
that's
not-
about where you are.
Yeah, I'm not the numbers guy.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about is like, sometimes you just gotta swing for the fences though too. Are you guys mostly only focusing on single family?
That's all we're
Uh,
focused on right now. And we're up until last week, we've only been focused on creative as well. But we've just been passing on cash deals. Pass, 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 pass. And because we started this venture going, hey, this is our focus, we're gonna go creative. We didn't want to pivot at all, or we didn't want to venture off of that because that's how, I mean, I don't know. If you want to get good at one thing, you just got to do one thing.
yeah, you have to get the reps in.
Yeah. And so even though he's had the conversation, I'm still a bit torn on it. But, we see 5 cash deals to every one creative deal. It's like, well, if we just pick a couple markets where we just are going to, or where we're open to cash, how do we make that work? And so that's where the DSCR stuff's coming in. It's really tough. Sorry, that kombucha's making me burpy.
Well, I think the DSCR conversation is powerful because you can come in usually like 15% down, you know, and have what's kind of sort of it's obviously it's not traditional, but it's not a creative lender either. It's kind of
Right.
like in between
Yeah.
and
Yeah, you're
have
almost working in like a wild, wild west kind of space, so to speak. Because, yeah.
yeah, my favorite kind of space.
Yeah, yeah. Like, do whatever we want to do. Yeah, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Especially when you're working directly with the lender. One thing that I've found is a lot of people say they're DSCR lenders, and then you find out, oh no, they're just like a broker and they're going to go out to a bunch of people and like, okay, while there is power in that, right? Because I can come to one person and they can go out and do, 100 ton come in front of 100 people. Sometimes just being able to talk directly with the one person that is the one doing the deal is better because now I know exactly what you need. So, if I know the terms on the back end and I'm able to get somebody that says, if you find this, we're lending on it. Now I just got to go find that. Right. And I got to put a deal together that makes sense for just 75% LTV, one as a DS, the debt service coverage ratio. Right. And so it makes it a little bit easier to go do deals because I know what the end result is. Start with the end in mind.
Well, then DSCR lenders are a dime a dozen. They all have different rates. They all have different terms.
Yep.
They all have different LTVs.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that was at my meetup, he's a local flipper and he's become a good friend of mine. He's a DEA agent by day and flipper by night. And his wife also helps him out. But he was just telling me that the lender that he uses recently told him he doesn't have to do full doc anymore.
Okay.
So they're bringing him down. His hard money lender is no longer requiring full docs. I think they gave him up to like a $3 million line of credit. And on top of that, like he's getting DSCR rates right now with his lender that he uses that are better than all
Mm,
the other DSCR lenders he's spoken to thus far, and they've openly admitted that. They're like, dude, I can't touch that. Like, you might as well just stay where you are.
yeah. Yeah. And, on top of the rates too, is like some are going to require 3 months seasoning or 6 months. It's like for co-living, it's
Some of them
tough.
require no seasoning even.
Yeah. Like I did have a conversation with somebody that was just like, if you have a rent roll, like if you have agreements, take them. Okay, sweet. But yeah.
I've even heard and seen one or two here or there where they might do like 75% LTV, but they'll allow for a second position lien. So that way, as long as you come with 10%, like you're good.
Right.
And actually, the same guy that has his really good DSCR lender that he likes, they don't require any seasoning or rent roll. It
Oh
doesn't even
wow.
have to be occupied.
Yeah. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just getting those people and keeping them in your pocket and knowing kind of, like you said, what the difference is, right? Because brokers can be really, really powerful, but brokers also have preferences too.
Mm.
And sometimes that their preferences don't always align with your preferences.
Right. Yeah, you got to make it it's similar to the agent conversation, right? They have their own goals
Right.
and wants and desires in mind. And so you got to factor that in.
Well, I'll give you a good example. We were going to use a broker for a friend of mine that he had a Morby method on a 20 unit.
Okay.
And we couldn't really find anybody at first that wanted to do the Morby method because, of course, that's like the trick is you're not supposed to tell people that you're doing a Morby.
Yeah.
But so we found a DSCR lender that would do 75 LTV, and she allowed for the second position to come in as long as you came with 10% down. You could have somebody cover the 15. Well, again, right? Like she's a broker. She didn't have to go to that DSCR lender, but she had preferences. But really, the borrower's preferences were to be $0 in the deal. So, sometimes those things don't align. Sometimes they work out anyway. The deal fell apart, so it didn't really matter.
Mm.
But he was going to be able, like, he would have had the cash to do 10% down anyway because the property was like 900 grand.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't a huge, it was like a class C, I think, multifamily. It
Yeah,
wasn't
those
like
Morby methods are some black belt.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just try to stay away from them at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Try
They're
to I'm as not that I'm not necessarily afraid of them. I just don't I don't one, I don't know enough about them, and two, it just seems like in the single family space, if you're doing a Morby method, you're doing something wrong. You're right. You haven't built enough rapport with the seller or something like that. But the Morby method is more for the bigger multifamily deals, right? And that's something that you want to have somebody who knows what the heck they're doing walk that through.
yeah. No, absolutely. And like you said, it does work much better on the bigger deals. I've seen it done on like bigger RV parks and really
Okay.
big family complexes,
Yeah.
but uh like you said, similarly, I don't really know enough, and so I just kind of stay away from them at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But so have you guys done any of that reverse engineering yet? You said like how many properties do you think you're going to need to get to your cash flow numbers?
Right now, well, if we do ones where we're not getting any cash flow more, but we're seeing probably 50, 55 range properties to get to that number. Um, Especially since we're doing partnerships, right, where we're splitting things. If we were just doing PMLs at like 10 to 12%, which is super rare, the number goes down. But where we're at is like, let's create partnerships. Let's get other people who want to invest in real estate to invest in real estate with us, right? I have friends and family that want to buy real estate that have been thinking about it for their entire lives and just never knew how to do it, never had confidence to do it, didn't have somebody that they could trust to go do it. And
Mhm.
so that's where we're at. I think probably 50 to 55. Our goal is to get to one a week, one property purchased a week, and that'll get us there in a year.
Yeah, I mean that's not too bad.
Mm,
Like I
That's
said, once you get it reverse engineered, then you have a clear, definitive goal that you can start working towards.
yeah.
And you guys are still wholesaling while you're doing all this?
Nope. Well, no. I if somebody wants to JV with something that I have a buyer 100% on, I will JV to wholesale a deal. Other than that, we're not wholesaling. I I don't have the time for it. I'm I'm busy doing what we're, focused on what we're doing, kind of what we were talking about earlier is like focus on one freaking thing. And if I go, yeah, I'll wholesale, yeah, I'll flip, we'll do these other things, that all it's doing is deviating from the course that we're on. And that being said, we do still flip here locally. We do still do cash deals here locally. We see deals every now and then from our local wholesalers that are cash, and I have a really good contractor here that part of it is that I want to bring him out up and out of the situation that he's in as well. Like the guy works 7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And if I could get him 1.5 properties a month, it changes his life completely. That's like, man, if I can affect people like that, like he's a friend, he's kind of family at this point. We've known him for a long time. He knows our kids. We know a couple of his kids, right? Like if I can affect his life and I can make lasting change and impact in his life, why wouldn't I do that? That's part of the reason that I work so hard is to change people's lives, right? Other than mine and my family's. I want to impact everybody around me. So we do still flip here locally, but it
Yeah.
does deviate a little bit, right? Like tomorrow I'm going to walk a house with him, whereas that's not it's taking me away from having a call with a lender or PM, right? It's taking me away from creating more opportunities, bringing more deals, creative deals into our fold. But we see it as worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, it's hard, right? Like you sometimes you do have to still do something else to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Um, and if you guys are flipping, because neither you or Brittany have a W-2 anymore, right?
Mm-mm. Yeah, this is full
Yep.
time. Yep.
So you probably do have to still flip in order to, you know, like have a household.
Well, yeah, we live very frugally. Which I think we would
Well,
we would live frugally anyway. That's just our personalities. It's not that we're minimalists, but like we
that's
like
fair,
to
but also seeing the cash cycles of flips, I can only imagine.
yeah, yeah, true, yeah.
I don't understand how people do like really, really vicious cash cycles like that. I mean, flips that have vicious cash cycles, and then other businesses like that are thin margined, like restaurants and whatever.
Yeah. No, thank you. We do we when we were doing, really focused on flipping, you get those big pops of cash and then you're like, okay, protect it. Take nibble from it, like use it very sparingly.
As long as you can.
Yeah, yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm glad. Like I said, everybody does their own. Right now, actually, I'm looking at building my cash flow numbers. So Tyler and TJ, who are both in here, we're looking at RV parks to start
Okay.
acquiring
Any places in particular?
over here, Southeast Louisiana.
Okay.
So we're just gonna start attacking it because the thing I was telling them, and I tell this to everybody, is just like, obviously do what you're comfortable with. Like if you want to stay in single family, like stay in single family. But doing bigger deals requires the same amount of time and effort.
Yeah.
Why not just do bigger deals?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. You did kind of hit that nail on the head. Not kind of, you did hit it on the head. And that's one thing that we were kind of ground into our brains in the growth co is like going and doing 5 deals a month takes the same amount of effort as doing 1 deal a month. Takes the same amount of time. What you're doing is just different during that time, right? So like if you want to go buy a 200 unit multifamily deal, it takes the same amount of time as buying a single family deal, but it's just different than, or I guess I should say it takes the same amount of time as buying a bunch of single family houses. What you're doing in the meantime is just different, right? You're putting different pieces in place. You have to learn different things, right? The strategies that you're employing are different. So there's a that's you brought up Alex Hormozy earlier. There's a story from Alex Hormozy that when he was first getting started in his gym, he went to his coach and he's like, how do I bring more clients into the business? And his coach said, go pass out flyers. And so for a month,
Oh yes, I love
have
this
you
one.
heard this story? Yeah, like
Yeah, go
for
for it.
30 days, he's like passing out flyers. And then at the end of the 30 days, he goes to his coach, he's like, hey, I didn't bring one person into the business. And the coach is like, well, how many flyers did you pass out? Like 500. Oh, dude, we do 5,000 a day.
And
What
that's
the
a
heck?
simple thought.
Yeah, like how do I do 5,000 a day? Well, you got to start thinking differently, like about what the 30 days looks like, right? So
Mhm.
it just changes your perspective on if I want to go buy 5 houses a month as opposed to one, what are the things that I need to be doing during those months, during that day? And so, yeah, just rethinking what the day looks like. I'm still spending the same amount of time as if I were talking on the phone for 6 hours a day, right? I'm just not talking on the phone to sellers anymore. I'm talking to different people. I'm putting different pieces in place so I can go acquire those properties.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like I don't have any more time than you do either,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Like we both have the same lifespan roughly.
Yep.
I'm 31, you're 40, but either way, I don't like my 24 hours is the same as your 24 hours. Like I'm probably only awake for 16 of them. You're probably only awake for 16 of them.
Yeah.
We both have limited bandwidth, which means that you're not gonna be able to work every waking moment.
Right.
Other things come up.
Yep. Yeah. And that's one like we've really, really prioritized, at least I know Brittany has, but I have as a husband and a father and entrepreneur, time with these ones. And like we talked about it before starting. I know we had 5 to 7 scheduled on the calendar, but 5 to 6:30 is what I have available because at 6:30 it's time for dad, right? I'm gonna go read books with the kids. We're gonna put them down, they go to bed at 7 o'clock, and then it's time for entrepreneur again, right? Depending on the night. Sometimes it's time for husband, but
Yeah.
we prioritize that throughout the day. Normally, I'd be sitting down, and having dinner with them, but like, oh, this is an opportunity to come be on your podcast and hopefully being able to provide some value to the guests that are here live and in the future, right? And so we do make sacrifices like that, but typically it's like lunchtime, we're sitting down, we're having lunch as a family. Dinner time, we're having dinner with the family, right? 6:30, we're doing family time, sitting on the couch reading. Typically they have like a little Bible storybook. It's really cute. It's got like
Mhm.
little animations, but like we're reading to the kids and then we're going and having to bed, So we prioritize that, right? You say that the 16 hours in the day. It's not 16 hours of work, right?
It never
Some,
is. You
no,
have to
yeah.
eat, sleep, drink, go to the
Yep,
bathroom, do whatever you
right.
have to do, drive.
Yep. And I like,
Um,
I prioritize getting out, being active outdoors, right? I prioritize my health because I say it all the time on mine is like I could build $1 million business and be, super successful in that aspect, but I didn't spend time with my kids and now they're 18 and they don't know their dad, or like I build this $1 million business and I can't if I try to go tie my shoes, my back hurts, right? Because I haven't prioritized keeping my body in good enough condition, right? I need whole life. I need all of it. And so I'm gonna build the $1 million business and I'm gonna still be able to bend down and tie my shoes and roll on the floor and play with the kids, right? I like if I go wrestle with the toddlers right now and the next day I can't get out of bed because my body hurts, like what the heck? Yeah, I gotta prioritize it all.
well, and I think you said it really well. As you said, like every once in a while, there's a sacrifice that you have to make, and that is the thing that you have to do as an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
Like people tell me all the time, they're like, "Oh, well, why Sundays? Why can't it be any other day?" Because Sunday is the day that I know that I can show up consistently,
Yeah.
and we have done the same time every single week for 22 weeks in a row, right? If it was one of those, it was Jessica,
Yeah.
crackhead.
Yeah.
But if it was any other day, the schedule is has far more shifts and variances in it, and so I might not be showing up as consistently as I do.
Right.
So when people are like, "Oh, well, if I'm watching a movie with the kid, that comes first," okay, cool. Well, then show up when you can,
Mhm.
right? But you have to make the investment in yourself to show up when you're available, when you have time, and come and learn.
Yeah. Yeah, it is all compounding, right? I I've just finished the compound effect. I think it was last weekend while I was mowing the yard for 4 freaking hours. I took it as an opportunity to finish the book, but like it all compounds. If whether I'm talking to a seller, like I'm on the phone talking to sellers for an hour a day over the course of 52 weeks, I'm gonna be way better at talking to sellers, even if it's just an hour a day.
Yep.
15 minutes hanging out with the kids, like those things compound over time, no matter what we're doing. And being consistent with it is what makes the difference, right? If I just do, oh, I'll do an hour today talking to sellers, and then, oh, maybe on Wednesday I'll do an hour, like that. Yeah, you'll get a little bit better, but that's not the way you're going to really get better. And that's not the way you're going to really accelerate yourself. So you gotta allow that compounding effect to go to work. It's just like investing in, in stocks or whatever you do, right? Your money compounds over time. And so you've got to allow, oh, somebody's getting scolded behind me.
Well, and that's also why we have, this huge array of guests that come on. I've had TCs, we've had integrators, we've had SaaS
Yeah.
company owners, capital raisers, PMLs, PMPs, wholesalers, whatever you can think of, we've had them. And you'd be amazed, right? When it's a topic or a person that they're interested in, like if it's a PML Zoom, the numbers go way up. Everybody shows up.
Mm. Yeah.
If it's something that they're like, oh, well, I don't know if I need an integrator yet, then numbers go down.
Mm. Yeah, that's funny. That's something that you, we're battling as like content creators. I don't know why I quoted that, but um, it is something that I learned or I heard when I first joined SubTo as well. It's like, hey, if you're if you're doing direct to seller marketing, don't go to the transaction coordinating Zoom. That doesn't make sense for you. You're more better off going to the daily dial, right? Or you're better off just spending that hour on the phone, honing that skill as a direct to seller um, marketer. What the heck? Direct to seller caller, salesman? Yeah, something there. The Britney flickering in the background keeps distracting me. She said sorry, but it's not her fault. She's
Yeah,
she's
it's
being
all
mom
good.
right now. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's true. But at the same time, you should show up and you should get some base knowledge. If you want to be a good holistic business owner, you have
Yeah.
to have at least a little bit of a knowledge of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the tough juggle that I still struggle with is like the who and not the how, right? I want to know all the things, but at the same time, is it better for me to just go find the who that knows the thing? I don't
Well,
know.
you
It's
have to
just,
know enough about the thing to be dangerous to recognize the who.
right.
And I
Yeah.
think that's the piece of the equation that everybody's missing. And because I fell victim to this, I had hired marketing
Oh.
agencies for a company I used to have. I didn't know enough about marketing to know that I could to call them on the carpet.
Mm,
And we went through three marketing agencies.
mm,
Yeah, three of them in like 6 months.
yeah.
And guess what? All of a sudden, the company was in more debt than it was making revenue, and it was like my partner was like, "Cool, bro, I'm out.
Yeah.
Deuces." He's like, "You can keep it," and I was like, "Thanks. You just left me with a $1,700 bill from one of them." Like, are you serious?
Yeah. Because you didn't know enough about what they should or shouldn't have been doing at the time.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know quite enough about like what are the fair market rates for the things that they're asking for.
Mm,
Like, do we really even need the services that they're saying that we need? You know, you have to know enough, right? Like, you have to understand some of the advertising lingo before you hire somebody that's like, I'm going to go run Facebook ads because they're just going to take you for a ride.
mm,
It's not their money, it's your money.
right. Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
you going to do if you spend 40 grand in a month and you get no results from those Facebook ads?
Yeah. Like, damn, we're gonna spend
Yeah.
40 grand again. No. Yeah, it's funny. That kind of goes back to the people getting started, thinking that wholesaling is the way to get started. And in a sense, it is, right? Because of all the things that you learn as a wholesaler, right? You don't have to start at wholesaling by any means. And if you have a lot of money and you already have a bunch of knowledge, probably starting in wholesaling isn't the right path. But for a
Hmm.
lot of people, getting started, like that's the great way to get started because it's a super low barrier of entry, both knowledge and money wise. If you just have a bunch of time, you can make something happen. And then you're just all the things you're going to learn about negotiating, contract, going through the freaking title process, talking to buyers. You're going to learn a lot about what is a deal and what isn't a deal just from talking to buyers. And you're going to learn a lot of different little things like no transaction is the same. So things are going to come up during escrow periods where you're going to learn a bunch of stuff, and it does equip you to be able to go out and buy deals in the future, right? Again, do you have to start there? No, but it's a great place to start because of all the things that you learn along the way, and you put some cash in your pocket. What is it like? Learn to earn. Learn while you earn. Something there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something on the line. I'm sure Jessica knows what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, well, and to be fair though, I don't think that there's a wrong place to start either, right? Like I jumped into capital raising. I have seen all of the inner workings of a deal, and I
Mm,
know what lenders want.
yeah.
Therefore, it's also helped equip me to go buy deals.
Mm,
Or like one of my friends who's a TC, when she brought me her first deal to purchase before the deal fell apart, dude, I mean, all her numbers were tight and she knew everything that needed to be in place and she knew all the details to check for in the contracts. So when she found these really kind of oddball clauses in the contracts that like the wholesaler wanted like $5,000 EMD to the wholesaler non-refundable, she was like, "Yeah, no, you're not getting that. Not a chance."
yeah. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Oh, the dog's looking at me too. I I do recommend to wholesalers on this kind of AMD topic is that you ask for more than you've offered to the seller. Because if something does fall apart at the end, at least you're getting paid for your time, but within reason, right? If you're giving the seller $500 and you're asking the end buyer for 5,000, maybe something's a little off there. Somebody
Yeah.
said 20. Oh yeah, yeah. Nobody has any questions for me. I'm not that interesting.
Or you were very comprehensive in your answer.
Maybe that was thorough. Yeah,
So I've had it go both ways on the podcast, and I'm sure
yeah,
you have too.
yeah. Oh yeah, that was what you said about the jumping into capital raising. It does go kind of back to that being consistent and putting in the time every day, right? Because you've been consistent in your this is what I'm doing and not going, okay, I'll raise capital and oh, I don't know, this isn't working. I haven't done a deal yet. It's been a month. Oh, I'll go direct to seller. Oh no, that didn't work. I'll go direct to agent. Oh, maybe I'll do my TC thing, right? Because you stuck with it, that's how you've gained the knowledge and the expertise that you have, and that's how you've been able to get deals done with that capital raiser hat on, right? Um, it's it is I want it is sad, I guess, that people don't have the stick to itiveness made up. There's a made up word there. Um, to stick
Persistent.
with, yeah, persist. There you go. Yeah, grit. Yeah, like, I didn't want to just
Yeah.
do a buzzword. Yeah.
I have
um,
the grit.
yeah, like this isn't. It's simple. Real estate can be very, very simple. We can make it super complex, of course, but it can. It's simple, right? Wholesaling is simple. Go find a buyer. I mean, go find a seller, negotiate a price. Go find a buyer that's willing to pay a little bit more than that price. But it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it easy, right? And most people do not get a deal done within the first month. Do not get a deal done within the first 3 months. It's knowing that the work that you're putting in every day is compounding that ends up not only getting you to one deal, but getting you deal after deal after deal, right?
Yeah.
And so like I see so many people, there's the meme of the miner in the underneath the thing and he's mining and he's like a foot away from the gem and like, I'll hang it up. I've been mining this whole time. Dude, you're a foot away from the gem. Like,
Six inches from gold is what most of them call it.
yeah. Just like,
Mhm.
You're that close.
yep,
You're,
yep,
if you'd have kept swinging the hammer, and I tell people, Tim Grover says this actually, and I really like it. He says, everybody thinks the champions are like everybody else, but the fundamental difference between champions is that they're broken because they don't
mm,
have an off switch.
mm,
And I see it like that. Like I tell people all the time that I'm too stupid to quit. And they're like, dude, why don't you be nicer to yourself? And it's like, it's not about being nice. It's about realizing that the truth is to most people and how they want to live their lives, the smart decision to them would be to not be an entrepreneur at all.
yeah,
It would be to go home, have a 9 to 5, have, their taxes taken out every month. They get a tax return in April. They have health benefits
yep,
and they're good.
yeah,
Like that to them is the smart decision, is the level of security that they're equipped for.
yeah.
That's not how I'm built. I've tried.
Right. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, it's what like the way you kind of put it there, it reminded me of when it was my time to get out of the Marine Corps. Getting out of the Marine Corps is scary. I imagine, it wasn't getting out of college wasn't as scary for me, but I would imagine for most people that haven't gone through the Marine Corps, getting out of college is kind of scary too, because with the Marine Corps, it's like be here now, this is what we're doing. This is when you eat. Here's your food. Here's your place to sleep, right? There, everything is regimented for you, and you don't really have to think a whole lot. You just have to show up and do what you're told. And getting
Mhm.
out, especially after you've been in for 4 years, like, oh, what the heck do I do now? Right? Going and getting a W-2 is easy in that sense, right? Because you just show up, you do your job, and as long as you are competent, you get a paycheck and you're able to feed your family, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you don't, as a flipper, right? You don't know when the next paycheck's coming in, right? As a wholesaler, sometimes you don't know when the next paycheck's coming in. So if it's your
Even as a
sole,
capital raiser, you don't know when that deal is going to fall through.
yeah, yeah, right. So, you know, you could equate it to other businesses as well, but yeah, being an entrepreneur is scary. Being an entrepreneur is tough. It's challenging, but it's the only
Well,
way.
and that's why I just tell people like the only way to cut down the ignorance tax is to go in and put the reps in, and you can do that in a shorter amount of time. Ron said he's finding out. Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
you find out real fast.
yeah,
But like the only way you can cut down the ignorance tax is by putting in a lot of reps in a short amount of time.
hmm
And you can become insanely competent above probably 90 to 95% of people by putting in an insane amount of work in a short amount of time.
yeah,
Most people don't even realize I've been capital raising since the beginning of this year. Like it's not been a terrible amount of time, but we've gotten all kinds of crazy deals across our desk because we put in the effort. We go out there, we show up, we're consistent, we talk to people, we talk to lenders, talk to partners, find out what they're looking for. So I've seen everything from we've raised for flips, we've raised for co-livings, we've raised for sober livings, we've raised for land development deals and apartment complexes and RV parks.
you got a
And
really good headshot.
that's how
Yeah,
we just went out there and just did the work.
yeah. Yeah, I was joking. I mean, the headshot is, yeah. I think, well,
Yeah, well, the headshot helps.
yeah, yeah. I
The
looked like
headshots,
Tyler had a question for a second, but then he put his hand down.
the headshots from my buddy's wedding last year.
Hey, 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 what's up?
Those are great. Oh,
What's up, brother? What you got?
What's up? No, I just been listening in, good conversation, all good stuff. I did have a quick question for you though, Nathaniel. What would you say to somebody like I kind of have two big goals right now, and I know you said like you have that big overarching goal, right, to hit that cash flow number. I have a similar, I'm looking at my goals right now on my mirror, and I've got one for my wholesaling business, get it to 50 grand a month. I got a team in place and everything. But I have another goal below it, a cash flow goal. Get to 7,500 bucks a month that covers my living expenses. I'm about a third of the way there. It's like I'm working on getting to that cash flow goal, but it's like it's two different paths, right? I feel like so I'm trying to kind of like combine the two. It's like all right,
mhm.
if I can, I like keep telling myself if I could get to like 5 6 deals a month, I not only am I going to be hitting my wealth goal, but now I'll be able to like cherry pick some of the deals, like because I can't really cherry pick right now, and I'm doing 2 deals a month, wholesale, because like that's how I feed my team, that's how I feed my family. Like I can't cherry pick this deal because I need that assignment fee to keep the business running. Because that's my full time gig, right? So it's like I look at it like my only option is to get to like 5, 6 deals a month. Like that is the only path. And then now I could start maybe cherry picking some of these things and working on that cash flow goal. But what are your thoughts about that?
I don't know how far you want to go down this rabbit hole, but I would say what's keeping you from just cherry picking them right now?
Just keeping the lights on.
Yeah, why
Not only
could
in the
you couldn't pay your company an assignment fee and cherry pick the deal?
I guess that's a good answer. I guess you could. I guess if you know how to structure it.
Yeah, I mean right, somebody's buying the deal from you. Why not you?
Right. Okay. Yeah,
That's
it's
my
two
initial
different.
thought is right. Yeah, you still have operating costs for your wholesaling company, but your buy and hold company is a different entity. Why can't the buy and hold company buy from the wholesaling company, right? When we were flipping, I had two different companies. I mean, I shouldn't say when we were flipping because we were still flipping, but like I have a wholesaling company. And it took me too long to realize that the flipping company is separate from the wholesaling company. If we would have realized it sooner, we probably would have done more flips and been a little further along. But again, we're right where we're supposed to be at, right? But your flipping company, it needs properties. It can get them from other wholesalers, right? Or it could get them from your company. And so, yeah, the your wholesaling company, your team, all the operating costs, it still needs to get paid. But somebody's buying those deals from you guys. Why not you? I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
makes sense.
Adam could probably raise the capital for you.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. So I think that's something I've been toying with my head too. It's like, all right, well, it sounds like I kind of have to do both at once. It's like two different businesses going on at once, basically, and just kind of
Yeah,
schedule time out to focus on both. I think is what it is too.
it
Because
is
I
tough.
I had this idea in my head, like, well, I got to get here first.
Yep.
Once I get here, then I'm gonna work on the cash flow goal. I
Right.
think some people get stuck in that, and I mean, I've been stuck in that for years.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone for sure. But yeah, there are a couple ways you can go about it is you can continue trying to juggle the two, or you could bring somebody in on the as an operator on the buy and hold side of things and take that off of your plate, right? Going back to the who, not how, is like bring somebody in that's going to get paid for every deal that you buy. Or bring somebody in on a very limited time basis. Like we're not doing a
Yeah,
lot on this side of the business, so you don't, you know, you don't need to
yeah.
allocate a whole bunch of time.
Yeah. I think I get caught up in trying to do the things. I've done a lot of delegating, and I have most of the team delegated at this point. But I'm now moving one of my acquisitions reps up to an integrator role, operator role, I guess you could say, in the wholesaling business, so I can start pivoting and have more time to, focus on other things. We're kind of taking the traction model approach,
Okay, I'm not
EOS,
familiar. Oh, okay.
EOS
Yeah, yeah,
traction.
yeah.
We're kind of following that to the T right now and structuring everything like that. But yeah, no, I like what you said too. Find an operator for the other business too, right?
Yeah.
That's
I like that you said follow the T, right? This is going back to the paying for education things, right? Like if I see somebody that's doing what I want to be doing successfully, well, what are the things that they're doing?
right.
I don't need to
Exactly.
reinvent the wheel, right?
Yeah,
I'm not that brilliant.
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
The
no,
only thing,
I've been down that road.
Yeah.
the only thing I would say to be cautious on when you're structuring your deals is you don't want to have like a really hefty wholesale fee and a really hefty acquisitions fee because then that could blow apart your deal. And I think you heard Tyler, Logan talked about that when we did the
Yeah,
PMLs on.
yeah, we did talk about that a little bit.
Because the only thing you don't want is you don't want your PML or your PMPs to get the impression that your values and ethics are misaligned, right? Like if the money doesn't reflect that your values are aligned and you have their best interest at heart, that if it looks like you're only looking out for your own best interest, then the deal will fall apart much quicker. So like I don't know,
Correct.
even if you had to like reduce your own company's assignment fee a little bit, right? If you had to take it from like a 20 grand assignment fee to a $10,000 assignment fee, or a $10,000 assignment fee to a $5,000 assignment fee, $5,000 is still pretty good, marketing costs for a lot of people.
Yeah. Just as long as you're like, it's it's easier to have the conversation when you're saying, look, I'm not getting paid for this, but my team and my company, like the operations side of things are, and that's why the number is what it is, right? I just was on the phone with a PMP Friday, and he was relating it a little bit to like Ponzi scheme, right? When you're taking this big acquisitions fee up front, like, well, on day one, I'm $70,000 out of pocket, and you're $10,000 up.
Yeah. And that's generally speaking how it goes. And that's how most of them look at it. And that's how
Yep.
Logan explained it too.
Yeah.
We had Logan Bowers on,
Okay.
and he's a capital raiser. He's a PML and a PMP. Um, and he has his own fund of funds. But that's one of the things that he explains is just like if your acquisitions fee is close to, just under, or even above the total interest that the PML gets, then you're saying your values are aligned, but the numbers say something different.
Mm, yeah, interesting. So you're looking at things from a equality perspective. I'm
Right.
taking notes.
Because, well, you have to think about it like this, right? Let's just say that, if the total interest on the loan is like 9 grand and you're trying to pay yourself a $10,000 acquisitions fee,
Yeah,
what's stopping you from just taking the money and run when you already paid yourself?
right. Yeah,
And like,
apparently that's what happens at Ponzi schemes.
right. Well, that's what happened with Bernie Madoff. And that's why
Yeah,
where the whole Ponzi scheme thing came from, right? Is
yeah.
it's like you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're getting the next round of money in to cover the last round of money's expenses.
Mm.
So people were getting paid for a short while with that Ponzi scheme, but it wasn't from actual dividends. It was just from new investors.
Yeah, that's the last thing we want to do. And like, right, it's a conversation you're having with the person because there are costs for us running the acquisition side of things. And so we do have a team and they need to get paid. But if it means that if it means for us to get a deal done, we get paid less at the time, well, okay, so be it. We're in a deal now, right? And um, going to Tyler's, Tyler's ultimate goal is, right, if you're $10,000 assignment fee, just using that because that's a round number that we can all use. Well, if typically you're going to make $2,500 out of that, well, in order for me to get this deal done, I'm gonna make it a $7,500 assignment fee because now I'm getting cash flow out of this deal. I don't need the $2,500 now. I'm looking at the upside of it on the long term. But my team, the $7,500 does go to all these different places, right? There was an acquisitions person, there was a disposition person, there was a transaction coordinator. My partner's got to get paid. All those things still have to work out. So it is just bringing in capital partners or capital lenders, right? It's a conversation, and it's a conversation that you have to have, and you both need to trust each other. And so sometimes you just, hey, these are the numbers. I'm going to open the curtain up and show you what the heck our business looks like, so you're
Yep.
comfortable now going, oh, okay, $7,500. It's not like he's just taking my $7,500 and going, ha ha ha, I'm going to go
Right.
run up the hill now. And
But that's exactly what Logan pointed out. Is he's like, if you can show me that the $7,500 you're taking is realistically like 5 grand worth of marketing costs, he's like, I'm
right,
not mad at you. Like that doesn't.
yeah,
He's like, you're just making sure that everything is written in.
yeah. Yeah, like I too, uh, it's easy to say, right? And it doesn't necessarily land, but I don't want to do this one deal with you, right? If you're open to do it and you have the capability, I want to do many deals with you. But on top of that, I also don't want you to go drag my name through the mud because I want to go do a bunch of deals with other people too. And one person mentioned, he was like, well, you're so active on social media, it would be really easy to destroy your credibility. Like, yeah, like I have a name that I'm building up, right? And I want that name to be credible. And I want when people see Nathaniel Hovsepian, they go, oh yeah, that's the guy that does deals and he makes sure that everybody's taken care of, right? And
Yeah.
and he's super communicative. He tells me exactly, you know, not he doesn't say what I want to hear, but he tells me in the way that I want to hear things, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what needs to be said, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause how many people shy away from what actually has to be
Yeah.
communicated?
Yeah. Like I want to be open and upfront, like especially for the first weeks of a deal when there's a lot of things going on. Like if you want, I'm going to be telling you every single day what happened, right? If you don't want that, then I'm not going to. Like, hey, just like one guy told me, hey, like once we get a deal going, I just want a quarterly statement from you saying what's going on, and the only other time I want to talk to you is just saying, hey, what's up? How's the family? Those types of things. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
shop. Okay.
Right, but get the feedback from them and find
Right.
out because it's balanced. Like either people shut down, they shove their head in the sand, or they get on the phone with the lender, they just rip their own guts out and leave it on the floor, and the lender's like, I don't even know what the hell to do with this.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's going on here.
Like I know I didn't know that your wife has cancer, but I don't know how that has anything to do with our deal.
Right, right. Am I still getting my money or yeah.
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 I'm sorry, but am
Yeah.
I also gonna get paid?
Yeah.
Like these are all very important things to note, and it's really just interpersonal skills, guys. Like that's why we put that on the flyer. Like this podcast has become it was started out as a networking series, and then it's become something much more about the intangibles because what people don't realize is that like the effective communication, extreme ownership, servant leadership, like these are all the things that are required to get somewhere in business.
Yeah. Yeah, like the the extreme ownership is fantastic and it's amazing. And one thing is with the communication, which I like to find out as soon as possible, is do you want a text? Do you want a call? Do you want an email? How often do you want what, one of the other things? What are you wanting to see in those? Right? Some people want to know step by step how the rehab is going. Other people want a weekly or monthly. Just show me an email, tell me when I'm getting paid, tell me that you deposited the check in my bank account. So knowing each person and knowing their personality and how they want that is, um, paramount. And I I do need to wrap up. I wanted
Yeah,
to say something about the extreme ownership thing because I just love this uh kind of analogy of salt.
yeah.
And yeah, so salt takes the blame for when food is lacking. So if there's not enough salt, you hear about it. If there's too much salt, you hear about it. When there's just the right amount of salt, oh man, these bell peppers taste amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The salt just goes away. Like I
Yeah.
want to be like salt. I want to be a leader like salt. I want to be a borrower like salt, right? If something's wrong, you're going to hear from me. If something's not wrong, man, the property manager's doing an excellent job. The contractor did a freaking fantastic job on that property. The realtor, man, she marketed that amazingly, right? Otherwise, I wasn't taking accountability or, I wasn't taking ownership of things, right?
Well,
Yeah,
definitely recommend both of Jocko's books if you have the time for it.
yeah,
Extreme
yeah,
Ownership and Dichotomy of Leadership are
yeah,
amazing.
yep.
Um, Really quick, just tell people where they can find you at, and we'll put a bow on this with some final thoughts.
Yeah, this is the best place, nathanielhovsepian.com. If you have Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they're all on there. All the links are there. I wanted to just make it really easy. If you just search for my name on any platform, if I'm on it, it's that. You can also find links to like my podcast on there. You can find links to my Helping Hands Hour, which we do weekly, which is just a place for people to come in. Kind of like this is just talk. We talk shop and whatever you need to get more deals done, to get over the hurdles. That's what I'm there for. But yeah, that's it.
Cool. And any final thoughts? Any parting wisdom to new investors?
Yeah, just I like pick one thing and put whatever time you have every single day into it. We've kind of hammered that home a little bit, but right, if you only have half an hour a day, do half an hour every day. If you've got 7 hours a day, do 7 hours a day and stick with it and focus on it. Don't get this. It's really easy to get shiny object syndrome in real estate because there's so many different ways to go about getting deals done. But the way that you get good is you stick with something. You got to give yourself at least 90 days, right? If you're quitting on something before 90 days, you don't want this bad enough, right? And after 90 days is when you can go, okay, am I enjoying this? Am I good at this? Like, have I grown at all? It gives you a good time frame to be able to see if there's been any growth or anything like that. So, at least 90 days. I think, especially if you're starting as wholesaling, like you should do 6 months because there's so much that goes on and there's so much that you need to learn. And it's not just wholesaling, I mean, capital raising, everything. But sometimes 6 months is hard to swallow. You should be
Yeah.
doing 90-day check-ins anyway, though. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, cool, brother. I appreciate
Yeah.
you coming on,
Appreciate you
hanging
having me.
out with us. And guys, y'all know the deal. We do these every Sunday. So if you want to come live, just come join us on Zoom. Like I said, we're here every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. CST. And the only thing that we ask is if you enjoyed it, if we made you think, we made you laugh, we brought you value, if we made you smile, whatever the thing is, just come back, hang out with us, and bring a friend. So until next time, Nathaniel, thanks again.
Appreciate you.